Hi folks, it's Becca here from Green Squirrel, and today we're going to be making beeswax air fresheners to keep our homes smelling beautiful. Okay, so let's talk through the kit and ingredients we're going to need to make our beeswax air fresheners. So kit-wise, you're going to need a pan, preferably an old one, and a tin can. That's going to be for melting the beeswax later on. You're going to need a grater if you're using solid beeswax. Again, ideally an old one because you are going to make a bit of a mess of it. And then you're going to need some moulds. So here I've got some silicone moulds. These are ice cube tray moulds and they work really well. You can pop them out really easily from these. If you didn't have an ice cube tray mould, you could actually use some silicone cake moulds. They're really good as well and they make a really nice shape. So your main ingredient is obviously beeswax. I am lucky enough to have been sent some beautiful beeswax here from the hives at the National Waterfront Museum in Swansea. So I'm going to use these. I'm going to grate some of these down. It smells wonderful. You can get hold of locally sourced beeswax from local beekeepers, or you can order it online. You can even get pellets as well. Although they're a bit more refined than this, they don't have this lovely colour, they're a bit more yellow, they still do work. Your next ingredient is going to be essential oils. So I've got a selection here and you really can use anything you like. In the winter, I really like to use something sort of spicy and warming. So I go for cinnamon maybe, or pine, even a bit of orange in there. You might want something a bit lighter for the summer, something a bit lemony and fresh, maybe with a dash of lavender or something floral like geranium, but really you can use whatever you've got. So our last ingredient, and this is really just for aesthetics to make these look really pretty, are some dried flowers or even dried fruit or spices. So again, like I mentioned, if you're going for something wintry and warming, you might want to put some bits of cinnamon bark in there or cut up some dried out orange peel. But also you can use any petals or leaves, anything dried from your garden that might make these look really pretty. I've got some flowers that I have pressed here from my garden that I'm also going to use. So if you are going to press some flowers from your garden, if you're lucky enough to have a flower press, you can use that. But before I had a flower press, I just used a big heavy book and I would put the flowers into the book between some sheets of kitchen roll or muslin or just cartridge paper. And that's a really good way to press your flowers. And then I'd often put that under something else heavy. But we're just going to reveal what's in my flower press because I haven't had a look for a while and I think I've got some lovely things in there. So our first step is going to be preparing our beeswax. So we want it to melt quite quickly once we put it into our can. So we're going to grate it down. You might be able to break these up into smaller chunks before you do that, but let's just start to grate our beeswax. Now it may take you a little while to grate enough beeswax, so maybe take some breaks, or this is where you might want to mix them up with some pelleted beeswax. So next, all of this lovely beeswax needs to go into your tin can. Now this is just an old baked beans can that I've taken the label off and I've washed out, and now I'm using it to melt my wax. And now we're ready to take our can with our beeswax and our pan and our essential oils downstairs to the kitchen to get melting. So we're going to start with putting some boiling water into our pan. So we're creating a bain-marie for the can to sit in. So we're just going to pop a little bit in to begin with, then a little bit more. So we're on a medium heat here. Be patient, it is going to take a little while for your wax to melt. Sometimes I like to put a lid over the top if the can starts moving around as the water starts to bubble. So at this stage I've turned the heat off and it's melting in the last of the residual heat. And at this point you want to add your essential oils. You don't want to add it too early because they might just evaporate off. So we're just waiting for it to finish melting and cool slightly. So now the wax has completely melted. You can see here, it's time to add our essential oils. I've gone for lavender and geranium. I'm just going to put about 10 drops of each in. And then you might want to give it a little stir. Again, I've got an old spatula here that's already got some wax on it, silicone, so it can be cleaned up. I want to give it just a little quick stir. So now for the exciting bit, we're going to pour the wax into our moulds. Again, be careful, use a tea towel, your can might still be hot. And now we just have to wait for these to cool down and solidify before we can take them out of the moulds. So now let's take them out of the moulds. So when it comes to using your beeswax air fresheners, it's as simple as just placing them around your home. What I like to do is put a few in a heat-proof bowl and place those in warm spots in different rooms. You can also, with these ones, maybe make some holes in the top of them with a skewer and hang some thread through them, and you can hang those in different places. They make really nice gifts as well. Now you might find that after a few months your air fresheners start to lose their scent, and all you need to do when that happens is pop them as they are back into the tin, melt them down in the same way in the bain-marie, and then just add a few more essential oils, put them back in the moulds, and you're good to go again.